may not think it, photosynthesis and cellular respiration are always happening. Photosynthesis is happening in your household plant or in your garden at all times. Your body goes through cellular respiration all the time. Knowing these processes does not only increase your knowledge, however, it also gives you knowledge on how to read your plants and your body more carefully. Many people may know about photosynthesis, however. Do you know exactly what happens? It is common knowledge that plants use their chloroplast to capture sunlight, which helps them grow and to get energy. However, this seemingly simple process is split into two phases, light-dependent and light-independent. Phase 1, or the light-dependent phase, takes place in the thylakoid membrane. Let's dive in deeper. When light energy hits the water molecule is split into a proton, electron, and an oxygen molecule. The oxygen molecule leaves the plant due to the plant not needing oxygen. The proton is later pumped to the thylakoid lumen from the thylakoid membrane, which creates a concentration gradient. However, the electron is the most important molecule of the three. When the electron branches off, it hits photosystem 2, which is a protein located in the thylakoid membrane. When the electron is in photosystem 2, light hits it, and then the electron goes into photosystem 1, another protein located inside the thylakoid membrane. After this, the electron then gets transferred to NADP+, a molecule that is the oxidized form of NADPH. When this happens, NADP+ becomes NADPH. Now let's move back to the protons. So after the protons move outside of the thylakoid membrane, it causes ADP to be converted into ATP and energy via the ATP synthase, a protein channel. ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate. The molecular structure of ATP is an adenine base and a chain of 3 phosphate groups, which are attached to a ribose sugar. Energy is released and stored in the phosphates of ATP and ADP, in that when the phosphate bond is broken by water, hydrolysis, it releases energy. On the other hand, energy is stored when ADP gains another phosphate, becoming ATP, which is known as phosphorylation. Now let's talk about phase 2, the light-independent phase. Phase 2 is widely known as the Kelvin cycle, which is named after Melvin Kelvin, who was a guy who I guess woke up one day and decided to oversimplify photosynthesis. Step 1 of the Kelvin cycle is called carbon fixation. We see that carbon dioxide enters into the stroma of the chloroplast. The ATP and the NADPH from phase 1 help fuel carbon dioxide into combining with a 5-carbon compound, creating 12 of 3-PGA, or 3-phosphoglyceric acid. 12 ATP and 12 NADPH combine with a 12 of 3-GPA, creating 12 of G3P. 2 of the 12 of G3P leave to create glucose, while the rest combine with 6 ATP, creating 6 ribulose and 1 5-bisphosphate, which is essentially the 5-carbon compound. Then the cycle repeats over and over again. We can see that this process of photosynthesis is an anabolic process because it converts many small molecules into a larger one, glucose.
With photosynthesis aside, let's talk about cellular respiration. Cellular respiration is a process that converts glucose into usable energy for your body. This energy is used to carry out your body's needs, but how actually does it produce the energy? Well, we see the equation for cellular respiration is the exact opposite of the equation of photosynthesis. Let's go a little bit, shall we? There are 3 main steps to the cellular respiration process. They are glycolysis, Krebs cycle, and electron transport chain. Glycolysis occurs in the cell's cytoplasm. Since glycolysis doesn't require oxygen, it is considered anaerobic. In glycolysis, glucose is converted into a pyruvate. This happens when ATP goes into glucose. This creates 2 of G3P, 2 ATP and 2 NAD+, go into and create the pyruvate. Glycolysis yields 2 pyruvate, 4 ATP, 2 2 NADH and 2 H2O. The next step is the Krebs cycle. The Krebs cycle takes place in mitochondrial matrix, but what exactly does it do? The Krebs cycle starts when an acetyl-CoA enters the cycle. Acetyl-CoA is formed when CO2 goes out of a provate, whilst NAD+ goes in and CoA goes in. So the acetyl-CoA then combines with CoA to produce citric acid. This citric acid then goes through a series of steps and reactions to ultimately produce a 4-carbon compound that then becomes acetyl-CoA again. The Krebs cycle produces 6 CO2, 2 ATP, 8 NADH, and 2 FADH2. Finally, the last step is known as the ETC, or the electron transport chain. ETC takes place in the inner mitochondrial membrane. The ETC is a series of reactions that uses electrons to power it up. The ETC shoots protons into the membrane, creating a proton gradient. This creates an electrochemical gradient. Then O2, the final electron acceptor, makes water when combined with protons. Eventually, the whole process of cellular respiration produces 30 to 32 ATP molecules and around 28 to 30 molecules of H2O per glucose. It is invented that the whole process of cellular respiration is a catabolic process. We see that the equation for cellular respiration breaks down glucose into different molecules and energy, which is needed for the plants or mammals. That was a lot to take in. With all this new information, I hope you learned one thing or two. Now that's all we have for this video. Remember to always have knowledge.